This is the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast, where we spread awareness for men's mental health and spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. New episodes drop weekly.
This is the Peace, Power, and Purpose podcast. I'm Steve, but today I'm not your host. I'm actually the guest. My good friend Brady from Battle Forge Foundation is going to be running the show today. So I'm going to share my story, give you guys a little insight of why I started this podcast, who I am, what I'm about, and what my mission is. And the fun fact real quick before we get into the episode, the majority of you that watch this podcast are not subscribed. So help us spread awareness for men's mental health by go ahead and subscribing to the channel, click the bell. New episodes drop every Wednesday and every Thursday. Brady, my man, the ship is yours, brother.
All right, everybody. Hey, let's see how I do. But hey, today we are going to grill Steve a little bit and introduce his audience to him and what he does and why he does this. And let's find out a little more about him, okay? Because you guys heard him to interview everybody else. Let's dig into what makes Steve tick, okay? Steve, thank you for this opportunity. Everybody be gracious. This is my first interview on a podcast, all right? But I'm going to go ahead real quick. Everybody knows about your podcast, but let's just cover this real quick. Why did you start this podcast, man? Give us your goals and purposes about what you're doing here.
Yeah, man. So that's a good question. I started the podcast really because I felt like I finally reached a point in my life where I lost everything. And it was because of my own selfishness, my own pride. And I just felt like I needed to share my story to hopefully help other men not make the same mistakes. Because as I've continued to journey through my sobriety, I meet so many people and I have friends in person that are married and I hear them talk, just, man, being married sucks. And it'd be so much more fun than if I was divorced. And I try to tell them, I'm like, you don't know what it's like on the other side of things. When you're co-parenting, when you don't see your kids every day, when you wake up on holidays alone, like it is brutal. And I said, obviously there are some situations where marriage won't work, but so anyways, I'm getting long-winded. My thing, man, is just, I was the guy that didn't want to ask for help. I thought it was weak. I thought I could do everything on my own. And then there's the church piece of that, because seeing men in church throughout my whole life, they weren't guys that had tattoos. They weren't guys that were, maybe in the military or first responders. They were just kind of the dorky, like Ned Flanders type. And the area that I live in the state that I'm in the city that I'm in, it's a soft target, man. There's a lot of dudes that if the wolf's at the door, they're going to fold up and cry. And I just want to show men that you can be a badass and also love Jesus. You don't have to be this weak little bitch that looks like a guy at Whole Foods that's afraid of his own shadow. So,
Dude, I think that's such a valid point. Masculinity, right?
mm-hmm.
I think it's been under attack for a while now. You see it all over social media and in the news. There's nothing wrong with being a masculine man. It doesn't mean you have to walk around with a chip on your shoulder and like start fights everywhere and be a dick, right? But what it does mean that if the wolf's out the door, you're going to step up and you're going to engage him. And you're not afraid to do that. You don't have to do it all the time, but you have that ability, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's awesome. I think you hit the nail on the head right there. But I appreciate you sharing all your stuff with us today. I know some of this is going to get kind of hard for you. And we're going to get in the weeds a little bit with you. And you touched on a lot of things we're going to cover, religion, mental health. Your story is not uncommon amongst men. You had me on. I'm very, very, very similar to you. So that's I think that's why we hit it off. We got a lot in common. But real quick, let's just start at the beginning, man. I want to dig into your past a little bit. Let's talk about early on, like little Steve, man. Okay, like preschool, like before you were in school. Tell me about your life experience, your childhood.
Yeah. So I have really great parents. They're still married. Been married. I'm 46. They've been married over 50 years. My mom will kill me if I forget how many years, but they've been married a long time. And old school Christian family. I was actually born while my dad was in flight school while he was active duty Army. So I was born in a little town called Enterprise, Alabama. So I was born off base, but dad was in Fort Rucker in flight school. So we lived there for like 6 months. We moved to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Fort Campbell is famous for the 101st Airborne. That's the biggest unit there. The 5th Special Forces Group is there, and also the 160th, which you can see behind me. The Night Stalkers, the Army's premier special operations aviation group. So, dad was in that unit. My dad was a cool guy back when I was a little dude, and he was gone a lot. I knew he was a pilot, but I didn't really know a lot about his job. So it was mostly me and my little brother, my mom, because dad was gone when they were working up or doing whatever for a deployment. They weren't home, they weren't around. So I didn't have a close relationship with my dad from what I can remember as a little kid. I was kind of kind of the man of the house. And I was little, man. We lived at Fort Campbell until I was in first grade. Yeah, we moved to the summer of my first grade years. The earliest memories I have as a kid, I mean, they were pretty good for the most part, but it was mostly me and my mom, and my brother. Dad was around for holidays a lot, and we'd still go do stuff. I remember riding on a motorcycle with him and picking blackberries and stuff like that. But we had kind of a unconventional family, in the 80s. And dad had a job that did not exist on paper. So even guys on base didn't know what he did, which was in the old days was pretty badass. Nowadays, everybody has a book deal, there's a movie, there's all this shit. But back then he was a silent professional and they had to be. So
True, quiet professional.
yeah. And just for the viewers, that a lot of people don't know who the 160th is. When Delta and Six were first formed in the 80s, that's who they worked with. So my father, Colonel Beckwith, who started Delta Force, created the 160th. So those guys in the old days, man, it was super, super secret stuff. And it's more, I guess, more well known now because there's some guys. I've had a couple Night Stalkers on the podcast, so people kind of know about them, but they're still probably one of the only special operations units that you don't see a lot about.
Well, not easy to get into that unit either. Like you got to be the
No,
best of the best. Like you
yeah,
got to be the
it's
man.
it's intense for
Their
sure.
capabilities are so awesome. But
Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, dude, let's talk about that for a second. I know it sounds like you had kind of, wouldn't say estranged relationship. I guess it would be estranged, right? Because you didn't see him much. But
yeah.
what kind of influence did that have on you as a child?
I think it's one of those situations where I looked up to him, but I wanted more time with him because he most of us that have grown up in a military family, they're pretty similar. Your dad's kind of strict. There's certain rules, and they I don't use the word tension, but it was kind of you don't want to make them mad. You wanted to kind of like walk around on eggshells, but it was weird, dude. Like I developed this sense of I respected him, I loved him because he was my dad, but I didn't want to be anything like him. I wanted to be the total opposite of him. And that's what sparked my interest in the career. We'll get into it later, but why I went the way I did in the military because I
Yeah,
wanted to be the polar opposite of.
that makes sense. And I think that's common for
Yeah, it
boys.
is. Yeah.
You know, sometimes I even see that in my sons. Like, why don't you want to be a little more like me? Am I that big of a D bag? I don't know. No, but you know, it's just you got to find your own way, man.
Yeah.
Well, tell me, are you the oldest of your siblings?
Yeah, so I have a younger brother. He's about 3 years younger than me. He's active duty Army. He's in special operations. I can't get into a lot about what he does, but he is the all-American badass. David is a fucking stud. I mean, everything that kid's ever done, he's been good. He's been great at it. So he is like your poster child for, what an all-American dude is.
Nice. So just you and your brother then, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, how was you guys' relationship growing up? You guys really tight, really close?
Yeah, we were pretty close. Of course, we fought all the time. We were really competitive. We were super close until like for example, when I was a senior in high school, he was a freshman. So we both played on the high school baseball team together. We were pretty close. And then once I got into college, I kind of stayed away from high school, so I didn't hang out with him as much. But once he got to the same college I was at, we hung out a lot. And then once I graduated, and he ended up joining the Marine Corps out of college as an officer. So we kind of started to drift a little bit, but it's one of those things where we know we got each other's back. But I mean, he's got three kids, and he's got his own life. And so we're not as tight as I would like us to be, but I don't know what that looks like when you're in your mid 40s, you know?
That's life, man. I mean,
It is. Yeah.
life takes you in different directions.
Yeah.
I could say the same thing about my family. I wish I was close with my siblings, but I mean, life is just so crazy that you do the best you can.
Right. Right.
All right. Well, tell me a little more about your mom. I know you
Yeah.
said she raised you.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want people to think my dad wasn't around because he was, but mom was definitely more of the disciplinarian, and it's probably because she got tired of having two boys all the time. But mom and I have always had a pretty close relationship, and like she was the one I could talk to about anything, very supportive. Yeah, so I've always had a lot of love and respect for my mom, and probably I don't know, man. She's pretty old school, like just good Christian woman. My grandfather, he was a preacher, so mom had a solid foundation in her faith. Went to a Christian college, and yeah, just super awesome woman.
Well, yeah, that kind of leads me into my next question. Like, as far as the values and principles you were raised on,
Mhm.
sounds like she had a good Christian base. Were you guys raised religiously, and was it a big part of your life growing up?
So my parents met in a group in college called Raiders for Christ, which is at the school I actually went to. It's called Middle Tennessee State University. So they met in a Christian thing in college, and so my mom was raised in the Church of Christ here in the South. That's pretty common. So yeah, church was a thing from day one for us, and it was my whole life growing up.
That's awesome. So, with that, what do you think were the strongest values and principles she ingrained in you that you took on through your life?
I think one thing that I learned at a young age, I kind of developed this survivor mindset. And I don't think it's anything mom ever said, but it was kind of like, um, if you're going to do something, don't half-ass it, and don't quit. Like, see it through. Like a good example would be like I remember when she signed me up for baseball. And I hated it. I thought it was stupid. I sucked at it. I didn't like it. She's like, "You're not quitting. You're going to finish the season out." And I ended up loving it. And then I ended up playing in high school. That was young when I first started. And so she just kind of, I think the work ethic that I have is probably from her. She just kind of instilled that in me. So
It makes me wonder. Like, I was the same way. Never quit, never die attitude. Like, you just couldn't keep me down.
mhm,
But it took a while to develop that. But same thing with my parents. It was like, you're just not going to quit. Commit, you finish. That was
yeah,
just bottom line. I almost wonder if that's a generational thing, if it come from the way they grew up,
I think it is. Yeah. I try to be like that with my kids
for
too.
sure.
But we're different, man. The 80s is way different than it is
Oh yeah,
now.
dude. Well, a lot of us grew up latchkey kids. I
I
know I
was.
did,
Yeah, I
for
was. Yeah.
sure. You come home and, dude, you're the man of the house, like you said, until
Mhm.
mom or dad gets home from
Yeah.
work. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember getting my first job when I was in like fourth grade, grabbing a paper route, and
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
my brothers, sisters come home, we'd fold the papers and
Yeah.
I'd go off, and but you learn a ton, right? Work ethic.
Yeah. Yeah. You learn responsibility and how to take care
Absolutely.
of stuff. And so we had chores, and yeah, you just don't see that a lot nowadays.
One of the things I think you learn too is problem solving, man. You
That's
learn to
good.
solve
Yeah.
problems because you're the only one there to do it.
Yeah.
So
Figure it out.
I think
Figure
we
it out.
lack that in kids nowadays. See a lot of guys and women helicopter parent, really protective of their kids. I think not to bash anybody's parenting style, but it's like kids need to solve their own problems a little bit. Let them solve their own problems a little bit because that's going to create a skill set later on in life that you'll use.
Yeah.
I don't see we see a lot of that anymore.
Yeah. You're right.
Well, right on. Let's move forward a little bit. So let's say, you got your young childhood taken care of. Let's talk about grade school, man. What made you tick? Let's talk about moving up through the ranks.
Well, one thing I want to add real quick before we get into grade school, I experienced some very significant trauma in kindergarten. I was 5 years old. This was at Fort Campbell, and I won't get into the gory details, but it's it's something that shaped my whole life that I didn't realize. And when it happened to me, I was exposed to some things at a very young age that no kid should be exposed to. And it kind of gave me this mindset of something was wrong with me, that I was broken, that I was damaged, like unclean. And so I developed this, I didn't know it because I was so young, but I really developed this sense of shame at 5 years old. And I carried that through my whole life, man. So before we jump to grade school, I just want to interject
No.
that because that really was the foundation of my path to destruction as I got into adulthood.
Well, that's super important. Let's talk about that for a second. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
unpack it a little bit, man. So
Yeah.
not get into gory details, but
Right, right, right.
talk about how the transition, how you saw that affect you from prior to after, right?
Yeah,
How did that change
so
you?
well, I mean, at the time, I think at a young age, so like if you live on a military base, I don't know how it is nowadays, but back in the 80s, it's a melting pot. You know, there's people from all over the states, there or the country, there's people from overseas. So you don't like you don't have that small town feel where it's a good old boy network. Everybody knows everybody. It's more of like you're trying to find your niche and how you fit in. And so I had some neighbors because everybody on my street, their father was in my dad's unit. So they were, we're all like there because of our dads. Because in the 80s, you didn't have female pilots in this unit or support. It was all dudes. But anyway, so I was trying to fit in and some of the older kids. So I was talked into some things by an older boy that I didn't understand and didn't know and would get bullied. So bullying really came on the scene for me at a young age. And this is a funny story. I'll share it. I had this friend that was a girl that lived across the street from me, and I can't remember her name. I think it was like Karen or something. And there was another kid on the street named Freddie. Freddie was like a third grader. I was a kindergartner, and Karen was probably second or first grade. So, anyways, we're all hanging out on the playground one day, and he starts making fun of her, and I got mad because I had a crush on her. So I punched him in the face. And I'm 5 and this guy's in third grade. So he goes to my house and knocks on the door, and mom answers the door. And he's like, "Hey, your son just hit me in the face." And she said, "Well, you probably deserved it." And I never forgot that. And so, like, at a young age, where I'm going with this, I always hated bullies, man. I always would stand up to them. And it kind of developed this fighter, you know, um, thing in me where like I wanted to protect people. I would see an injustice and I'd wanna fix it. And so ever since I was a little kid, I've been a protector. And I'm sure it's because my dad was gone a lot, but I just wanted to share that because it was kind of a funny memory I have from childhood. But to this day, my mom still remembers it. It's kind of funny.
Isn't that crazy how experiences like that will shape you and
Yeah.
just make you into somebody totally different?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you learn through that, right? So,
hmm
did you get in a lot of fights growing up because of that?
I got picked on a lot, and so most of the fights were like a kid would take something from me and I'd get mad, lose my temper and like push him down. I never got into like a real brawl until I got older. Yeah, and what I learned moving, and this is a little bit further ahead in the story. When we moved back from Germany and the rednecks would pick on me, I learned real fast when I played sports, they wouldn't fuck with me because they knew that I was athletic. And when we played football, I'd fucking tackle the shit out of them. And I was fast. And they were like, whoa, this kid's, and because that's how I always let my actions speak louder than words. And, but my whole life, dude, I've been like kind of, discredited. Like I've had to prove myself and people look at me and think, oh, he can't do this. And so I've always had this mindset, like, fuck you, I'm going to do this. And that's just how I operate.
Do you think you were really discredited, or is that something that was just mentally you thought you were discredited and you had to prove yourself? You think people really looked down on you?
Yeah, well, I know like when I was in college, I had a lot of friends that would say, "Oh, you'll never leave Tennessee. You'll never join the Navy. There's no way." And I was like, "All right, watch." And I did, you know.
For sure. I just asked that because you mentioned the trauma earlier.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wonder if
yeah.
that played
It
into that.
did.
Like, hey,
It
a little
did.
bit like I'm not good enough. I gotta prove that I'm better, that I'm worth more than I look like I'm worth type
Well,
situation.
and I'll show you how fucked up I was, man. Like in high school, I remember I played varsity my freshman year, and so I wasn't a starter, but I would get in the games. And I remember when we would get home from the game, I would go run sprints in the backyard on my own. Like, I did not see it as, I didn't see it as a game. I didn't see it as fun. I saw it as a way to get out, to like, I want to play college ball. I got to be better than everybody. And so I took it way, way too serious. And so it's always been hard for me to be, um, almost to be lighthearted in things. I tend to take things way, I've always been told like I'm too intense. I'm too, over the top or whatever. Like I'm all or nothing, I'm not going to half ass anything.
I think that's part of who you are on your personality. I think a lot of us are that way. When we say we're going to do something or we get involved in something, it's like we're 100% in.
Hmm.
I'm doing it all. I'm
Yeah.
going 100%. There's not going to be any halfway. I'm totally invested in this.
Yeah.
um, excuse me. Okay, so well, with all that, I wanted to ask you, like, what fueled you growing up? Was it the trauma? Was it like what fueled your desire to be who you were?
Mm. So at a really young age, before we moved to Germany, I moved to Germany in second grade. I would hear stories from my dad, like trainings they would go on, and he always talked about SEALs. And I thought, man, that's really cool. Like those guys sound awesome, but he didn't speak about them like in a positive light all the time. And because of, because I'll just say this, he would always say, "There's not a mission involved with SEALs unless there's a case of beer." They were always drunk, and cool story. My dad actually saved a SEAL's life. They were out in Arizona doing halo jumps, and I don't know any names, so this isn't any kind of, it won't jeopardize anybody. But anyways, they were jumping, and one of the SEALs decided to mess with the guy in the air, and he put his feet on his canopy. His canopy collapsed, and he ended up getting really jacked up, in a skydiving accident. My dad scooped him up in the Blackhawk, and they actually landed in a hospital parking lot in the Blackhawk. And you got to remember, in the '80s, this is SEAL Team Six. This is before Dev Group, before they changed their name. These guys didn't exist. My dad's unit didn't exist, so they land in this hospital in a Blackhawk. All these dudes, and they run this game. But anyways, he ended up saving his life. Um, but my father, being the man who he is, good, strong Christian man, does the right thing. He always ingrained in David and I, was like, don't, you can't make mistakes like that. You can't be a dumbass. And these guys were being dumbasses. And so he always would kind of, it's cool to do things, but you need to be, he's like Captain Safety. He's like
Captain
don't ride
Safety,
your
dude.
don't ride your motorcycle without a helmet, whatever, like that kind of stuff. So, but I thought that was a cool story because I remember hearing that as a kid, but I saw it as like, man, that's cool. Like they drink a lot. Like that's cool. It's like, and I didn't grow up with alcohol. Neither one of my parents drank when I was growing up. It was not in the house ever. So I didn't see it.
That's not so. You'd say the Navy SEAL thing fueled you.
Yeah. So hearing him talk about him, I always thought, man, that'd be badass. I want to do that. And he was a pilot. And so I thought aviation was cool, but it never really interested me like the SEAL teams did. And back when I was growing up, we didn't have all the movies, we didn't have all the books, so you didn't really know a lot about them. And as I got into high school, I learned more, but there still wasn't a whole lot out there about them. Like you wouldn't run into a SEAL. I could go outside my door right now and probably throw a baseball, and I could probably hit somebody that knows a SEAL because they're all in Nashville now. Not a unit, but there's a lot of dudes that live here that were in SEAL teams, and there are more chances to meet one or talk to somebody and get resources about it now than back when I was growing up.
So would you say that was like your idol was, or your heroes were like SEALs,
Not
or do you
not
have somebody else growing up?
really, it became sports. Sports were the early thing for me because as we moved to Germany, he changed job roles and wasn't working with units like that, so I didn't hear about him as much. Um, and it wasn't just SEALs. I mean, he talked about Delta a lot, and then they worked a lot with SAS, British SAS. So, I heard a lot of cool stories. But yeah, so I really got into sports as I got into grade school, and so I started making an idol out of baseball. That was my first idol. Like, dude, I worshiped pro ball players. I mean, I would watch, Eric Davis was my favorite ball player. I love that man. I had every baseball card, every I think there was like the Beckett books. I don't even remember those, like Beckett baseball. I had all of those, and I had all the posters in my room. I love Jordan. I was into everything, so I love sports. And I thought, man, that'd be so cool to get out of this town and go be a pro ball player. So I was all about it.
That brings up a question to me. You said you moved to Germany
Hmm.
in second grade. Did you play sports in Germany?
Okay, so like I had not played any sports in like kindergarten or first grade. When we got to Germany, I played soccer. And funny story with that, dude. So I'm in like second or third grade. So we lived on base, and this is back during the Cold War. So they were still East Germany. There was still the wall. The majority of the German people did not want us there. So we'd have protesters at the base, all like outside the gates all the time. They'd give us these safety briefings, like you can't go to this part of Germany. Don't talk about what your dad does for a living. So my dad was spying on Russians. That's what he was doing. He was flying an airplane with a camera, and they would spy on them. And so anyways, we'd still go off base and do activities. But when I played soccer, we played this German soccer team. I don't remember what town it was in, dude, but it was their home field, and that's their sport. I mean, and I remember seeing these kids out here smoking cigarettes, dude, like before the game, and they're little kids. They're like elementary. They beat the shit out of us, man. They were tough, and and I was like, dang, man, these guys ain't messing around. So yeah, I played soccer, played basketball. I played a little bit of baseball, but I think it was coach pitch, and I didn't like it. I tried karate. I didn't like karate. So yeah, really sports is when I was in Germany is where I got into trying sports out for the first time.
How long were you in Germany?
We were there 3 years. So
3 years.
yeah, I was second, third, and fourth grade. Fourth grade was my absolute favorite grade of my entire academic career. Like I loved my fourth grade teacher.
That's awesome. We'll him a shout out. Like, I
I
don't know.
think it was Miss Ludi or Duty. I can't remember, but I've got a crazy story though from fourth grade, man. This is probably gonna be a long episode, but whatever. I shared this the other day when I interviewed Franzi, who lives in Germany right now. There's a metal band called Rammstein, and they're named after a famous Air Force base, Ramstein Air Force
Mhm.
Base. Well, in 1988, I believe, I was in fourth grade. There was an air show at this Air Force base, and there were two hills on this at this base. They're basically got people on this side, these people on this side, and there was a demonstration team. It was a fighter team out of I think Italy. There were three of them. Anyways, they collided in midair and they completely wiped out one of those hills. We were supposed to be at that air show. I don't remember why we didn't go, but my fourth grade teacher went, and her husband had one of them old school like camcorder things, and he got a lot of that on tape. But there was a lot of casualties at that air show, so that was it kind of rocked me a little bit, dude. Like in fourth grade, I was like, wow, we were supposed to be like we could have been at that air show and been killed just out there watching all this. And I don't remember all the details of why we didn't go or what caused the accident, but they it was kind of like a JV Blue Angels group. They collided in midair. But that always kind of, and she didn't show us the tape or anything, but I remember her talking about it and how just traumatic it was. And it kind of, death was definitely a bigger reality for me overseas than it was when we moved back to the States. Like it was a constant, hey, the world's dangerous. And there's a lot of people that don't like you because you're an American, regardless of what you look like or what you say, is because you're American. They don't like you. And I carried that kind of with me, and I still do today. Like I understand I don't want everybody to like me. I don't give a shit if this particular country likes the US or not, because you know what? They're always going to hate us, and that's fine. I can live with that. But some of our friends on the other side of the fence, I won't go political, they'll never understand that. They're going to hate us because of who we are. So I saw that at a young age.
Tell me this: were you a gamer at all? Like
Um,
Nintendo, stuff like that, growing up?
so like we didn't have a lot of money. Um, We did in Germany because my mom had a good job, so they would kind of spoil us. But when we moved to the States, my mom went to work for the Department of Health and Human Services, and so we didn't. My dad flew for American, but we didn't have a lot of money. Nintendo was like I think back then like $100 or something. So we kind of were late to the scene. Like I remember we ended up getting regular Nintendo, and at one point I had a Sega Genesis. So we played games, but we were outside a lot, man. Like, because my brother and I both played sports, and my dad being an airline pilot, he was home a lot. So in the summers, we weren't sleeping in, man. He had our asses up at like 8 o'clock doing chores, get outside. It's nice. I mean, it's
Oh, for
like,
sure,
hey, we
man.
weren't just laying around eating Cheetos, playing video games all day, and mommy coming over and patting our head. We were expected to we still had fun. We still played video games, but we still had we had expectations on us, like, hey, you need to clean your room or go cut the grass, or don't just sit around.
Oh, for sure. So what point in your life did your dad transition from the military to American?
Okay, so he left active duty when we moved from Germany. So he took a job with American Airlines in 88 is when we moved back. Is that right? 88 or 89. I think it was the summer of 88. Um I'm losing track of years. But so he left the army, got a job with American out in Nashville. So he flew for American Eagle. I don't think American Eagle's gone, at least in Nashville. I think it's gone completely, but it was kind of like their smaller um airline. So we moved to Nashville, and he flew for American, but he stayed in the Guard. So he flew in the Army National Guard, and then flew for American full time.
So he was home more at that point, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. He was home a lot more in Germany too. Once he got out of the 160th, he was home a lot more. I don't remember
Did
him being gone much in
did your
Europe.
relationship improve with him at that point?
No, honestly, man, it didn't. It I got to be careful how I say this. It was one of those things where I never related to him. And my brother and my father are the same guy, except my brother's more of a rebel. He's like, they're the same dude, but my brother pushes the envelope more. But I never really connected with him, and I had some pretty hard expectations on me, especially in school. I didn't do that good in school, so I don't have a lot of pleasant memories. Um, you know, but basically, like, it didn't improve. I'll just say that it probably got worse. So, but
It's because you didn't relate to him, I
I don't
guess.
know
Yes, you said
I don't know who's gonna watch this, so I'm trying not to say too much. Because my parents, they're still alive, and they live pretty close to me. It didn't improve because I'm sorry, what was your question?
just if it improved when he was home more.
It didn't. I mean, we still had like fun times and stuff, but I really kind of started to develop my own personality in Germany. And it was weird. I was kind of the popular kid in fourth grade. That was the last year I was there, and I really embraced it. I liked it. I had a lot of friends. I was. I mean, let me back up. I just thought of something. There is one thing that did bring us together, and I need to mention this because this is important. He was a Cub Scout den leader guy or whatever, and in Germany on base, Cub Scouts was way different than when my little boy did it here. It was almost like a paramilitary organization. They didn't mess around like they do now. But he was the den leader, and I remember going camping, and it was fun. Like, it was cool. So we did bond with that. I'll never forget. We went on a camping trip, and I saw like salamanders for the first time. And why I remember that, I have no idea. But I had fun. I enjoyed it. So that was cool. That was a good bonding and that was just me and him. My brother wasn't involved in that. So, but as far as like everyday life, I wouldn't say we were closer at all.
Okay. Well, I guess on that same note, did that relationship ever improve for you? Has it improved now to this day? You guys close now?
It's much different now, and I think a lot of that is because of what I've done to improve my mental health, how I've reevaluated my life, and I've learned to forgive people and not hold on to stuff. Like, we're not super close, but it's more of a friendship now at my age and his age than when I was a kid.
Yeah. We've matured past a lot of the stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's natural. A lot of guys would say they had a rough patch with their father, especially in the later years in school, right?
Mhm.
Start to rebel a little bit, coming to yourself. And it's not till later on till you realize man, he was kind of right about a lot of that shit.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
like I should have listened more, man. Were you rebellious through school, your school years? Did you get into trouble? I mean, you said you struggled in school a little bit.
Yeah. I was a pretty good kid, man. And this is where religion comes into play. I was afraid of going to hell. I lived in this constant state of fear about going to hell. And I don't really know why I did, but so as I got out of I didn't feel like that in Germany, but once we got to the States and we're going to church a lot, I didn't fit in with the kids. I got bullied because I was from, they thought I was from Germany. And I don't know. I always kind of, that's when I developed really a strong sense of pride is in fifth grade. I didn't like the town. We lived in a town called Smyrna, which is right outside Nashville. It's known for Nissan has a huge plant there. So a lot of the people that live in Smyrna in the old days, they grew up here, they lived here. Now it's all a bunch of transplants. But so I didn't fit in, man. I didn't make friends very well and developed a sense of pride, but I also lived in this constant state of fear. As I got older, I saw my friends would drink, my friends would go to parties, my friends would do drugs, they would hook up with chicks. And I saw it as like, I can't do that or I'll go to hell. I don't want to go to hell. I was afraid of it. And but I was fascinated with it. Fascinated with the dark side, dude. Like I mean obsessed with it. And I'm kind of jumping forward here, but to answer your question, I'm getting sidetracked. No, I did not get in trouble in school. I did shit like kid stuff, like we paintball rolled, we vandalized the hell out of stuff, but I never got drunk. I never did any of that kind of stuff. Mine was more destructive type behavior off of school property. Not like when I was at school, I saw the teachers as like, I got to listen to what they say. I got to be here because it's required of me. And my parents weren't like super strict, but they expected us to make good grades, obviously do your assignments, do your homework. So it was kind of I just saw it as a means to an end to get through school and be done with it.
For sure. And I I only asked because I struggled in school too, man. The only reason I made a 2.0 was to stay on the freaking playing field in sports.
Yeah.
To be
Yeah.
honest, I just didn't take it very serious until a later age.
Yeah.
Let's speed on up into like the high school area. I mean, anything change? Is baseball still driving you? How did things change there for you?
Yeah, so back to your point earlier when you said about me having to prove myself, that was just what I thought or what people would say. So when I played in the city leagues in like seventh and eighth grade. They had a major and a minor league. It was Babe Ruth baseball. I don't know if you guys had Babe Ruth out in Utah, but so I wasn't good enough to make the major league. I played in the minor league, but I was good enough to make the high school baseball team. So I made the high school baseball team. Everybody said I wouldn't, but I made it. So the way they had it here, it's called TSSAA, and I forgot what all that stands for. Basically, it says if you're on a high school team, you cannot play in a rec league at the same time. You're ineligible. So I would go in my Laverne High School baseball uniform after our baseball game to go watch my Babe Ruth team play because I wasn't allowed to be on the field. And they would all look at me and say, "Oh man, you play for Laverne?" I'm like, "Yep." They say, "Well, what team are you on?" And I'd tell them like, "You're on a minor league team?" And I'm like, "Yep." Yep. So I was like, to you, I was like, fuck all y'all. Like, so, but, and they didn't think I'd make the high school team, but I did. And I made varsity my freshman year. And everybody's like, well, how the hell did you do that? Cause I love
I'm a
baseball.
baller, man.
Yeah,
What do you
dude.
think?
But, so baseball in high school was my, yeah, it was all I cared about, man. It was my whole life. It's all I cared about. I love
Did that transpire to anything college after, post high school?
No, so what's crazy, man, is like I felt failure my sophomore year. So I made the team as a freshman. I go to a baseball camp at a college that summer of my freshman year. My high school coach is at this camp, and I had a university out of Georgia. One of their coaches pulled me aside and he goes, "Hey, they had this drill. They've got like paracord, like 550 cord, and they put like a wiffle ball on it, and you hit it with a stick." Well, I was a switch hitter. I could hit on both sides of the plate. And he said, "I want to watch you hit." And I was like, "All right." So I did this little drill. He's watching my swing and he goes, "I want to watch you throw." So okay. So I never pitched. So I'm throwing and he's like, "Man, you've got a natural like tail on your ball when you throw it." And I was like, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah." He's like, "You'd be a hell of a pitcher." And he said, "You ever heard of whatever school?" I'm like, "No, sir." And he goes, "Well, I tell you what, I'm going to keep my eye on you. I want to come watch you play next year because I think you'd fit in really good at our program." Dude, I was a freshman. I was like
Wow.
14. And I'm like, "Damn, that's awesome." But funny story is I get to high school, right? Back in the sophomore year, that coach left. He was gone. I didn't know he was leaving. He didn't even tell me he's gone. I love this dude. He's gone. I get a new coach who's a fucking asshole. And he rebuilt the whole program. Long story short, I got cut. I got cut from the team as a sophomore. Dude, that completely just defeated me, man. It took um it almost broke me, dude. I was like, I thought I was gonna play at a college, and so now I wasn't playing. And I was too old to play in the rec league because I'm a high school kid. So my sophomore year, I basically sat out, and I tried to transfer to another high school, but they wouldn't let me do it because one of the other coaches wanted me to come play over there. I ended up making the team my junior year, same coach. In my senior year, another coach came on the scene, and he was 23 years old, did not like seniors. He wanted to rebuild the program again. And all the seniors, for the most part, did not start. He started freshmen. So I did not get a lot of playing time my senior year. And our summer ball team was horrible. That's where scouts would come out. I played American Legion. And no, I didn't get any scholarship offers, but I was too damn prideful to go try to walk on at like a junior college. I just said, you know what? Fuck baseball. I'm done with it. And I walked away from it. I have the type of personality that I can just cut something off and it's dead. I don't think that's healthy, but I'm like that in relationships. I'm like that with jobs. And yeah, I walked away from it, man. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to the Navy. I'm gonna go be a SEAL.
Do you
That's
think
where
being
my mind
cut
went.
your sophomore year, what do you think that taught you? Think you taught it learning lessons that shaped you for further on down in life?
Yeah, I'd say it probably started shaping resilience in me. My mom was really cool through it all. I talked to her, and she was like, just let's get you some. I got some pitching lessons. She's like, let's get you in some lessons, and let's start. Like, she was always real positive. And it's the funny thing is, man, I got bronchitis at Christmas that year, and we had tryouts in January. And so you had to retry out for the team, even if you're already on the team. And I couldn't keep up, like in the conditioning drills, because I was hacking. I had an inhaler, and I'm not playing a victim or making excuses, but I couldn't keep up, and so I was a liability, and I didn't make the team. And so it just taught me this mindset, I guess, of you can doubt me, but I'm going to prove you wrong. And I ended up making the team my junior year and then my senior year. But I always had this little thing in my head. I always had this little doubt, like I'm
For
not
those
good.
that don't know, dude, that's hard to do. You get cut from a team, to remake that team is almost twice as hard, I think.
Most people would just walk away from it. They'd be done.
Well, to turn that coach's head again to say, "Yeah,
Yeah.
you're an asset now," that's a difficult thing, and not to make light of it, because let's be real, this was your life. You get cut from a team. That even though it sounds silly, that is a super traumatic event for a kid
Yeah.
that idolizes the sport and his whole life wrapped around it. Think about, I mean, that's like losing a major portion of your life as an adult. I mean, it's just traumatic, dude. That's hard.
Hmm.
I feel you, and it sucks. The senior year thing, trying to, I've lived through the whole same thing. Coach trying to build a
Wow.
lower program, and like my senior year, I played high school ball too, but the only seniors that started were outfield because we had a separate coach. The entire
Mm.
infield was all sophomores and juniors, and like
Wow.
the only reason we got to play is we were outfielders. And
Okay.
yeah, that's the way it goes. Well, sweet. So I didn't move on to anything college, which sucks, but you cut it out. You say, okay, I'm gonna move on with my life. Where does that take you post high school, man? What do you do?
Yeah, so I graduated high school. I didn't go look at any colleges. My aunt, who taught me how to play baseball, not a blood aunt, she's my mom's roommate in college, Trish. She was a softball coach at Lipscomb University. Anybody listening that's been to Nashville, David Lipscomb is a very popular Christian college. It's Church of Christ school. They've always had a pretty good baseball program. I've been to some of their camps, and my aunt um, taught me how to play. She taught me and my brother both how to play baseball. So basically, I didn't want any part of college. I told my parents I'm going to join the Navy, enlisted. My dad was a warrant officer in the Army. He was a pilot. And he kind of said, look, he's like, I don't think you should go in enlisted because at this point, I'm already like running, I'm swimming, I'm training for buds. I've got like the whole like layout of what I need to do and shit in my room. And he's like, I would go to college for a year, try it, see what you think. If you hate it, and this is where dad really kind of came in and really supported me. And he said, if you hate college, then join the Navy. But he said, I would not join the Navy enlisted. And for everybody listening that's never been in the military, most people do not get through SEAL training. And if you don't get through SEAL training, you're at the mercy of the US Navy, which means you're going to be on a boat somewhere doing a job that is nothing like being a SEAL. So it's not like the Army where you could go, I don't make SF, I can just go to an infantry unit and still be a soldier. It's not like that. So, anyways, he encouraged me to go to college. So I went to Lipscomb for a year. My aunt was a professor there because I screwed around and didn't apply. So I ended up getting in at Lipscomb and I went there for a year. It was like being in high school again because of the rules. You had to go to a chapel every day. I had to take a Bible class. I'll just be honest, man, a bunch of dorky Church of Christ kids. Like that's who it was. And it felt like high school. So I went there for a year. Then I transferred to MTSU, which is where I graduated from. That's when life changed dramatically, dude. Yeah.
Here's the change.
That's when I my eyes were open very wide.
The
That's
true
when,
college life comes
yeah,
into
yeah.
play.
And I took full advantage of it.
Well, dude, walk us through it because that sounds interesting, man.
So I get to MTSU and I didn't like high school. I didn't stay in touch like till I graduated with. My whole thing growing up was like, I don't want to be working at the oil change place when I graduate. I want to go do something above and beyond. So I get to MTSU and I link up with some of my old ball players that I knew from like David Potts. If you're listening, me and him are still friends to this day. Awesome guy. I
Recipe
remember
for disaster.
yeah, ended up running into him. Well, me and him didn't party though. He was already like looking to get married and all that shit. But I got into ROTC. That's where my eyes were open. In college, you could take ROTC and get credit for your hypers, like your activity classes. And I had no intentions of joining the Army, but I thought I'll go do ROTC. My dad did ROTC at MTSU, and I thought I'll do that, get the college credit, and learn about the Army, get to do some cool shit. We rappelled. And at that time, you could go to Airborne, you could go to some different schools. They were sending kids to Ranger School, then they quit because half of them weren't going in the Army, and it was a waste of money. But I thought I'll check it out. But I started hanging out with a bunch of ROTC guys. Here's another fun fact for the listeners. You can be in the Army enlisted out of high school and then use the GI Bill, go to college, and then become a commissioned officer. So a lot of the guys in ROTC were former or prior enlisted guys. So they're already been in the Army, but back then we weren't at war, so there wasn't a lot of them that were combat vets. But I started hanging out with some of these dudes. So I started drinking. I started drinking. I didn't drink in high school. I didn't do any of that stuff. And it was fun. They were good dudes. We'd go downtown Nashville. We'd hang out in Murfreesboro, a small little town here, college town. I mean, it was fun. I met some great guys. And I kind of started to let my hair down and be like, okay, this is way different than that private Christian school. This is like the real world. And met some solid guys and decided, okay, I'm going to ride this out. I'm going to stay in college. And my aunt encouraged me to major in exercise science because she was a kinesiology professor. And so my goal was to get the degree. So I have the paper and I could go in the Navy as an officer, go officer candidate school, go be a SEAL, and then eventually do something with fitness. That's what Steve had in his head is what my life was going to look like. Obviously it didn't turn out that way, but that's what I was intending on doing.
So go to college, start working towards your degree. That's working out for you. Get introduced to alcohol, which probably I know because I know you plays a later part in your life.
Yeah.
So you join the Navy. What does that look like?
Well, it took me, so I graduated college in 2002. I did not realize how hard the officer route was going in the Navy out of college. So it took me a couple years of getting the right recruiter, getting all the documentation, and doing the testing to finally get picked up for officer candidate school. So I swore into the Navy on September 15th, 2005. So it took me almost 3 years with the math right in my head. Yeah. To get picked up. There was interview process, letters of recommendation, a written test called the ASTB, which is the officer version of the ASVAB test. And then, of course, the physical fitness test. So there were a lot of things in play. And once again, I was told by a recruiter, you will never make it. You will never get this slot because the guy ahead of you is magna cum laude at Wake Forest. He's an All-American cross country runner, pedigree guy. He actually was in the SEAL teams. We went through together. And I was like, all right, whatever. And I ended up getting the slot. But that was another person telling me I can't do it. So that's not new to me, man. I've heard that my whole life. So
Well, I know we talked earlier about you wanting to be a SEAL.
mhm.
How did that all play out in the whole Navy thing? Did you end up signing up to go to Buds? Like, walk me
Yes.
through all that.
So when you join the Navy as an officer, you basically have a dream sheet and they ask you what what branches of the Navy do you want to go. And I only put one. I put special warfare, which is, at the time was for it's called a special warfare officer trainee was a designator. That was the designator to have to go to Buds. So you go to officer candidate school for 12 weeks and then you go to Coronado. And Buds, if you get all the way through the pipeline without any hiccups, it's about a 2-year pipeline to get through the whole thing. But you have to be accepted. You have to, like, your packet has to be picked up before you even get this slot, before you can even commission in the Navy. And in 2005, there were 10 of us out of the whole country that got green lighted for officer candidate school. And 2 of us were from Nashville. We actually were in some Navy magazine about it because that was like unheard of. There were 2 of us. And Josh was in the class above me. So I was 0906 in OCS. He was in the class right above me. We tried to develop a friendship with him. He just kind of different dude, nice guy, but just different. And so we were cordial, but we never were like buddies. Like we never really like developed a friendship, I guess. But so yeah, I go to OCS, which was in Pensacola, Florida. Just like the movie Officer and a Gentleman, very similar, man. It was a blast. We had Marine Corps drill instructors. I have the utmost respect for the Marine Corps because they are just so squared away. And those DIs were men that you saw and just looked like that. Those motherfuckers are not playing, and they did not play. We had 2 scout snipers in our that were attached to our class. I still talk to one of them today. I still talk to my primary drill instructor, Gunny Walters, awesome dude. I hated his ass for the first 6 weeks. Yoked up, big ass black dude, terrifying, man. But yeah, it was very academic based, and I'm not strong in academics, but the U.S. Navy is huge on academics. That's why most SEALs that are officers come from the academy. They don't come from officer candidate school. Um, so yeah, OCS was I think it was 12 weeks, but we got liberty so we could go off base after a few weeks and partied, man. I did not I got caught up in that. I should have been more dialed in and I should have been looking ahead. Like, okay, I need to be focusing on what I came in the Navy to do and what school I'm getting ready to go to. Cause everybody knows Buds is not easy. But I was like, oh man, I got this. I'm gonna go hang out. I met some really good dudes in OCS. Still talk to them to this day. We're at the beach, man. We'd go party. We'd go to bars. We'd go to um McGuire's Pub in Pensacola. It's an Irish bar, dude. It's amazing. It's a Navy bar. I mean, we just would throw down and got into some trouble. I ended up dodging it. But I won't share that story on here, but I cussed out somebody in a Waffle House at 3 a.m, pissed drunk, who I didn't realize was a captain in the Navy. And almost got pulled right before graduation. He was attached to the Blue Angels, by the way, because Pensacola is the home of the Blue Angels. But yeah, so but yeah, I got through OCS, and then I don't know how much you want me to go into that, but it was fun. I mean, it got old after a while, but the Navy's not a combat branch, so you got different personality types. But met some really good guys. Another guy in my class named Mike, he ended up going to DevGru. Like, I won't say his last name, but he ended up going to DevGru, and I lost touch with him over the years, but he did some cool shit.
So the Buds thing never really worked out for you.
Well, so from OCS, then I go to Buds, and
Yeah.
I check in, and Buds was not what I thought it was. It was kind of sold as mental toughness. That was like their big thing that they were telling us. And I had all the paperwork. I'd seen Discovery Channel. I was not, I was 26 years old when I checked in. And so I was one of the older guys there, and I was not ready for, um, like, for example, I was a marathon runner when I joined the Navy, and I was not prepared for the level of physical fitness. I thought I was, but I was not. And I got injured on the O course, and my time and buds got cut short really fast, and it broke me. Like, not getting that bird was that was all I wanted, man. I wanted that trident on my chest to prove to the world that I'm a badass. I did it, and all of you suck because you said I couldn't do it. And that really fractured the relationship with my family. And a lot of that was probably on my own overthinking or my own misjudging reactions, but I felt like I failed them. I felt like a failure. And I was a failure. I mean, let's just be honest, I was a failure. And I really struggle with it. You know, it took me 15 years to get over it.
It was a giant loss, man. It's what you looked forward to doing your whole life, and then to realize it's gone,
Yeah. It was gone. It was
it's
gone
hard.
quick. It was gone quick. Yeah.
It's hard. So how did you bounce back from that?
Um, so I ended up I was thankfully I could get out of the Navy because I paid for my own college. That was a process. So I get out of the Navy and I end up back in Nashville. I'm married at this point to my first wife, and I can't find a job. I didn't want to go back to being a personal trainer like I'd been before because I was married. There's not a steady paycheck. There's no benefits. So I've been looking at police departments when I was still in San Diego, and I applied to a couple of them. But I had to have surgery when I got out of the Navy, so I was told by the Metro Police Department, which is the biggest, one in Nashville. They said, "Hey, have your knee surgery and then come do the physical test or whatever." So I ended up at another department, which is a smaller one, but my wife's ex-wife's best friend was dating a Franklin cop. So I was like, all right, I'll go check these guys out. So I ended up going into law enforcement. And for anybody listening, man, back in 2008, that was a long process. I don't know how it was for you, but it took me 6 months just to get hired. I mean, it was a long time. Um, yeah, I went basically from a SEAL training environment to a small local department training environment. And that was wild, man. That was a wild scene.
Bet. Absolutely. So you go in, you go into the whole process, and that include academy and
Yeah, so the
all that.
department I got hired at paid for our state academy training. So they had their own in-house academy. So I did 6 weeks. Um no wait, how long was their academy? No, their academy was like 16. It was long, dude. Like the department one, we did that first and then we went to the state academy. So I went to that, and not what I thought it was going to be, dude. Like I remember I did a ride along with Scott the night before I started the academy within the department, and we're just driving around, and I'm like thinking in my head like, what the fuck? What is this, man? I don't know if I want to do this or not. This is weird. But yeah, so I went through the academies, and then I got on the FTO. Our FTO, we had to work every shift, so we had to work day shift, second shift, third shift, and the traffic unit. We had to be assigned to the traffic unit for
Really?
that was a blast. But but yeah. So yeah,
I hated traffic,
I
man.
did too, man. I didn't like working Rex. I hated Rex.
Mm-mm. Hate
Yeah,
it.
so I did fine at the academy. I was already in pretty good shape, and then I actually ran a marathon while I was in the academy, the country music marathons. Met some cool guys, and was one of the class leaders. Um, being prior military, they wanted guys that were prior military to step up. So yeah, it was kind of fun. We could go home on the weekends and stuff like that, but it wasn't anything like being an OCS, that's for sure.
All right. Well, let's take a time. Let me do this. Give me your thoughts on what that job was. Was it what you thought it was going to be?
No, it wasn't because I saw early on. I don't know how your department was, but I saw early on that it was a good old boy network. And if you weren't friends with the supervisors, it was going to cost you. And the way I looked at, and I talked about this on another show, talking about the chain of command and first responder roles. There wasn't a clear line for the chain of command. Like if you ever called a drill instructor, and the guys that are listening have been in the Marine Corps, you're going to laugh when you hear me say this. If you ever called a drill instructor Sarge, they would beat your ass. You don't call them Sarge. You never say that. So I wasn't used to that, right? They would say, "Hey, Sarge, I got a call." So I always would say Sergeant, but I always looked at the supervisors as I'm going to keep them at arm's distance because I'm not their friend because they outrank me. They're a chain of command. There's a proper chain of command. If I have a problem, I'm going to follow that chain of command. What I would see is the average patrol officer would be best friends with the lieutenant on shift, and they would get the best zone. They would get a longer lunch break, and it burned me up. I saw a lot of cowardness. A lot of people were afraid to go in certain parts of town. And I'm just like, dude, I signed up to kick ass. Like, I'm not here to like wipe people's noses and write tickets. I'm here to kick indoors and get in fights and all the shit I saw on TV. That's what I want to do. And I want to be on the SWAT team. I want to do this. And the amount of paperwork and the micromanagement was numbing because as a commissioned officer in the Navy, you were taught to be a leader. You're supposed to be in charge of people. And now I'm being instructed on how to handle a barking dog call. And I'm like, dude, I got this. Like, what the hell is there to figure out here? Like, I mean, just stuff like that. So I saw it as kind of, I'll be honest, I saw it as beneath me. I did not feel a sense of pride. It was a great job. And looking back, I was ungrateful. I was an asshole. I was prideful. I should have said, hey, you know what, man? You've got a great job. You've got benefits. You whatever. But I didn't see it that way, man. I saw it as a stepping stone to go from here to the next career, which would have been Fed, or we have the TBI here, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. I was looking at that because I didn't want to be patrol. I wanted to do something outside of that, which you got to pay your dues, you know?
Do you think that job affected your marriage at the time?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it did. Let's see. So this is how messed up I was. I think I said this the other day on a show. When I was in the academy, the department academy, they made us bring a picture in of our wife or our girlfriend, and we're supposed to carry it on us at all times. You remember doing all those dumb scenarios? So I hated doing that stuff, man. So we're doing whenever you'd make a mistake for the people listening and watching. If you got killed in a line of duty, you had to take this photo out and look at it. And that's your wife, you're dead, you're gone. Somebody else, and I would always say this, somebody else is gonna raise your kids and they're gonna fuck your wife and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I don't need to carry a picture of my wife. I don't give a shit. Like I'm here for me. Like I ain't here for my family. And I didn't have my daughter yet. But that was what was so like I already had this messed up like mental state, you know? And then when I got to the state academy, I had one roommate, giant of a man, awesome dude, 6'8" monster from like West Tennessee. He was a deputy. So deputies, they don't like city officers. I was a city officer. And so we developed a really strong friendship, but he always would call his wife at night. He had pictures in. He goes, man, why don't you have pictures of your wife? I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, don't you miss her? I was like, well, I mean, I'm going to see her this weekend. Like, it's cool. Like I'm up here to just get this done, man. My mind was I was so focused on this is what Steve's got to do. So Steve's going to do it. But I was immature, man. I wasn't grown up. So to say it had an impact on my marriage, yes, a big time. It got worse as the career evolved. That was very selfish. She is a good woman. I did not treat her like she should have been treated. And I what's the right word? I was very selfish and ungrateful, and she deserves someone that can, be that kind of man that she needs. I wasn't that guy. I just wasn't.
So it sounds like the relationship did not work out. Did that happen
No, it didn't.
while you're a cop?
No, it didn't. I got into some major trouble off duty, um, which led to me resigning under my own power. But after that, I chose to get divorced. So and the job was Steve's responsible for it, but the job was a huge factor in that. Some things I won't get into on camera occurred while I was on the job that led to the divorce. And I'll just say this: I was a piece of shit. I was a piece of shit. Made some really poor decisions, unhealthy decisions, and I didn't really care about the collateral damage that it would cause until it was too late. Then I realized, and then I had the shame come in with that.
Okay, so up to this point, we've got Steve growing up, super religious, didn't touch alcohol. Goes off to college, finds alcohol, gets introduced to the real world, maybe some negative influence, goes in the military, has a good time, lives the real world life, goes in the police, gets married, becomes a cop, some trauma stuff, the job's pressure, little selfish role. Tell me, we talk a lot about religion. You talk a lot about religion and God on your show.
Yeah.
Tell me how Satan plays into all this, man.
Oh, he plays a huge role, man. So I mentioned earlier that I was obsessed with the dark side growing up. So the good thing, a lot of people in Tennessee have a negative image of the Church of Christ. I don't know what that's like out in Utah, but here growing up, if you told anyone you were Church of Christ, it would almost be like me saying I'm a Trump supporter. They would freak out and they'd say, "Oh, you think you're better than me? You're the only ones going to heaven," and all this kind of stuff. So the good thing about that church, the Church of Christ, is you have a solid foundation in the Bible, and you know a lot about the Bible. And so the Book of Job always appealed to me. The Book of Revelation has always been my favorite. Part of that's because of my dad's unit; they use scripture from it, so I thought it was cool. But I knew who Satan was at a very young age. I've always been fascinated with snakes. That's my favorite animal. I have a snake on my back. My whole back is covered with a skull and a snake. I love snakes. I love skulls, and I love metal. So I've always had an intimate relationship with Satan. I was deathly afraid of him as a kid, but I almost admired him in a way. And I don't know how that sounds to the listeners. I didn't want to worship him, but I saw Satan as strength. I saw him as, like, let's look at it this way from a law enforcement's perspective. You see the Hells Angels rolling up, right? The Hells Angels are rolling up in your town. Nobody's gonna fuck with them, right? They're bad dudes. They're not gonna put up with any shit. You see the men's church league roll in from Baptist wherever. What do you think of those guys? They're probably nice. They're probably gonna like buy you lunch. I saw that as weakness. I wanted to be strong. I wanted to be a badass. I wanted people to fear me. I wanted to be left alone. And Jason Tyler McLean and I have talked about this. Embracing that darkness kept people away from me. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want anybody around me because I didn't love myself. I hated myself. So Satan played a role because that shame that I developed at 5 years old, that pride I developed at fifth grade was constantly inside of me. I was constantly trying to prove my worth, but I didn't love myself. I didn't want to live. So I was afraid I'd be in hell. And eventually I embraced it. I was like, you know what? God, God is there. I believe in God, but I'm not worthy of salvation because I'm unclean. I'm broken. I'm a sinner. And so I would let Satan I couldn't hear him, but I knew you probably felt darkness before. I could feel it. I mean, I could feel it, like spiritual attacks, even before I knew what they were. Um, but I don't know, man. I found it very appealing to be feared. I liked it. I thought it was cool.
Well, dude, tell me. Well, it sounds like what you did is you just all that, say, the selfishness, you were very aware of the darkness. You allowed yourself to be open to his influence, right? I mean,
In ways, and I had this weird thing in my head. I thought if I died in combat that I would go to heaven because it was an honorable death.
Valhalla, man. That's the wrong religion.
Yeah, but that's how I saw it. I thought
For sure.
if I lay my life down for my brother, then I get a free ride to heaven.
I totally understand that.
Yeah, but it's dumb. It doesn't make any sense, but that's how I looked at it. And so I had a death wish. And with Satan, the strongholds that first got me, I would say lust was probably the first one because I didn't drink until later in life, but then definitely alcohol. And I'll share this on here. My first wife and I have a really good relationship. It's a healthy co-parenting relationship. We have a 15-year-old little girl. Well, she's not little, she's 15. Oh, 16. Sorry, her birthday was today. But Leslie told me a story one time. We'd been out drinking all night. We come home from a bar and we're living in a condo. I was drunk as hell and mad because I'd get mad when I got drunk. She said I was speaking in tongues while I was drunk, and she thought it was the most satanic thing she'd ever seen. And it scared her half to death. I don't remember it. I kind of vaguely remember the end of it, like, her coming in the room and the lights are on. But I think from my personal own beliefs and what I understand about religion, I think because I was so far removed from the Lord that I was not filled with the Holy Spirit, even though I'd been baptized, because I was not living my life for him. I think Satan somehow used his boys to infiltrate me and basically, like, I'm responsible for my own actions, but I think Satan can bring stuff in your life, right? I think opportunities can arise, and when you have the Holy Spirit, you'll say, "Hey, that's probably not the best thing to do." It's hard to resist that. It's hard to resist temptation. It's hard to resist lust. But if I'm following Christ and I have the Holy Spirit in me, that little alarm's going to go off and say, "Hey, maybe I need to go back this way," right? But my alarm was like, "Yeah, fuck it."
Yeah,
Like,
well,
fuck it. I deserve this. It's my time. When I turned 25 and got that SEAL contract, it was like the summer of George from Seinfeld. I was like, now I'm living for Steve. Steve's going to have his chance. This is finally, I got this. And then it was like, whoop, like, nope, nope.
well, absolutely. I mean, he's the great deceiver, man.
Yep.
He comes at you from all angles, right? So
Yep.
let's be honest, for those, I don't know, most of your listeners are gonna understand this, but he knows you better than you. All right. He knows where you're weak. He's gonna hit you at the weak points, man. Um, that's why you need Christ, you need God. Okay. You need that Holy Spirit to guide you and make you help you choose right from wrong. Everybody's got the light of Christ in them, man. You're born with that. No right from wrong. But the more you do wrong, the less loud that gets, I believe. He gets quiet. Okay. And honestly, let's be real. Okay. I'm not a lot dissimilar to you in a lot of this. Okay. We start to like that. We start to crave that high from
Mhm.
that lustful experience, or that doing the wrong. Okay. It's immediate gratification. Think that played a role in all this?
Well, it's funny you say that because Dr. Jenna, who I had on the show that I connected you with, that's a psychiatrist for law enforcement, she put this in a way that I never thought about before. She said, your perception of the world and your perception of yourself will make it easier for you to do things that a normal person or a healthy person would see as wrong. So if you already think you're a piece of shit, you're cops, you're not going to trust anybody. It's not a cop usually. You already think the world's bad and evil and everybody else is. You're going to justify, not everybody, but I did, justify actions that are unethical or not biblical because that's how you view yourself, whether it's having an affair, whether it's doing drug, whatever it is, because you see yourself in a negative light. And so as far as Satan is concerned, I personally think the sexual childhood trauma that I dealt with at 5 years old created this shame in me, and I never wanted to address it or get help for it. And I think he saw that opportunity and he used it against me, because let's be honest, folks that are watching, Satan cannot send you to hell. He does not have the power to do that. You follow Jesus, you love Jesus, you give your life to him, you have eternal salvation in heaven. That's how it works. But you are a threat to the enemy because you are a child of God. Satan hates every one of us because we were made in the image of God. He cannot send you to hell. I'll repeat what I said earlier, but what he can do is he can keep you quiet. He can make you think you're not worthy. He can make you think your life has no meaning. He can make you get to a point to where you just want to end your life because you don't feel like you have anything to offer this world, because he has a whole army. What did he take? He took, was it 2/3 or a third of the angels when he fell from heaven? He's got a huge army.
Third of the hosts of heaven.
There you go. He's got a huge army, and he's not omnipresent, so he can't be on your back, but he's got his whole little crew that they'll watch you. There's a book by C.S. Lewis called The Screw Tape Letters. They watch you, they evaluate you, because they don't want you to spread the gospel to help somebody, to save somebody. They want you to shut up. And that's why I'm on this podcast, man. I'm talking so I can help people. So yeah, I think he influenced me. I think he does have the power to put certain people in your life. Some Christians will argue that there are no evil people because, like, kind of what you just said, we're born with the Holy Spirit. I think there are evil people because just because you were born with the Holy Spirit doesn't mean that it's going to guide you. You have to make a conscious effort, in my opinion, to follow Christ and allow him to lead you versus just saying, "Hey, I'm baptized. I'm cool. I'm going to go over here and do what I want. I'm good. I got a free ride to heaven." I don't think it works out.
I'd agree that nobody's born evil, right? But
Yeah,
people
yeah,
get there, especially through our experiences. I mean, you and me both, after being in law enforcement, doing the stuff we've done, I've stared evil in the face. I've
yeah,
seen it eye to eye. I've felt that nobody can tell me that person was not evil.
yeah,
I mean, it takes evil to do this without getting into details. Some of the things I've seen done.
yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
No, and that's, you mentioned a lot of stuff, like you brought up depression and your previous trauma, and I mean those are all chinks in your armor.
Hmm.
Those are all things that are going to make make you weaker, and that Satan will use as tools, right? Anyway, let's. I want to move on a little bit. So you end up, sounds like you end up getting a divorce, right? In your first marriage, and lead into a second marriage.
Yeah. So, my first marriage ends, and I end up dating a woman that I used to work with, is also a police officer, and we dated, I think, probably 2 years, maybe, and then we get married. So I have my daughter, co-parenting with my first wife, and I'm married again. I'm out of law enforcement at this point, so I left law enforcement, and my second wife was a police officer and worked at a I won't say the name of the company, but she worked for a company as a police officer. So she had a really good job. And so I was still tied to law enforcement, but I wasn't in law enforcement anymore. And so yeah, I got married to her, and it was a time in my life where I started to increase my alcohol consumption. I started to shy away from Christianity because of shame, and I really struggled to find purpose in life. I eventually did, but I did not know what to do with myself. I tried to get back into law enforcement at a smaller department near the area I live now, and I thought I had the job. I thought I did pretty well and everything, and it was given to a kind of a sister department. They had a big transfer of guys come over, and so I didn't get it, and I ended up starting a business. And then they called me after I started the business, trying to give me the job. And at that point, I was like, "Ah, I'm already started a business." But yeah, so I got married to the a second time.
So would you say at this point, height of jacked up Steve is going on right now? Um,
He so I had 2 rock bottom moments in life. The first one was when, I was in major trouble off duty, and, I had to resign from being a police officer. That was my first rock bottom, and then going through that first divorce, but it didn't even begin to touch the second rock bottom. So I kinda rode out of that first one, and, I'm a survivor, man. So I said, "You know what? I'm gonna figure this out." And, instead of, I mean, I was going to therapy. It was court mandated therapy, like anger management stuff, but, I did that, but I never really looked at the root of the problem. Like, "Hey, what are you doing with your life? It's like, you're a father now. Like, what's going on here?" And, so yeah, the drinking definitely started to escalate, but it didn't get out of control, I would say, probably until when did it really get bad? Probably when I first got married to my second wife is when it really started to just get bad. And I need to explain that more. So after you ask me the next question, I'll explain that one a little further.
let's kind of lead right into what I was going to say. I mean,
Okay.
you're starting to. I mean, got to went through a lot of stuff. So you lose your job,
Hmm.
end a marriage, start a new one, start to drink more, start up a company, a business. So
Yeah.
you got stressors in your life, plus the alcohol, new relationship. At what point does it become too much?
Yeah. And that's something I want to add. So when I walked away from law enforcement, you hear this a lot on social media, the thin blue line and brothers in blue and all that bullshit. No disrespect to to men that have been on my show and women and to you at all either, Brady. But like when I left the police department, there wasn't a whole lot of people standing there that were there for me. There weren't a lot of people calling and checking on me. I was on the news. They had me on the news. And you know, I Nashville was probably kind of becoming a bigger city then, but every major news outlet had my picture on it. I had people calling me I hadn't talked to in years saying, "Man, are you all right?" Like, what the fuck? But most of those guys I went to the academy with, the guys that I went on calls with, guys that I, you know, high risk call, all that shit, they weren't there, dude. I was a cancer. They all just kind of went, "Whoop, I'm going to step over here." And that was hard. That really sucked because I was a leader, man. I took care of my dudes, man. Like I would check on them. I would back people up. I wasn't afraid of getting hurt. And so I didn't like all of them, but I still was a professional on the job. And so I didn't see that brotherhood, man. I didn't. And so when I left law enforcement, it really was hard because that was my identity. Even though I didn't like the job, that was my identity. It was all built up in that. And so I felt lost. I was wandering. I didn't know what to do with my life. And I took it upon myself to like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna find a new path. So when I started that next business, I didn't feel worthy of success. I didn't feel worthy of being happy. I wasn't grateful. I didn't know how to, as a Christian, I've never, ever been able to really grasp the concept of happiness. And I'll tell you why. This sounds really messed up. This is how I see it. You either live for the Holy Spirit or you live for the flesh, right? The flesh is not aligned with the Holy Spirit. Paul talks about this in the New Testament. If I want to do what Steve does, that's not aligned with God's will, right? So, in order for Steve Morris to be truly, truly happy, me personally, I do not believe it aligns with God's will because I'm going to choose things that are not aligned with the Bible. They're not aligned with Christianity because to me, they're fun. They're happy. They make me happy. They're fun. They're dangerous. They're fun, whatever. But what I have learned is joy and happiness are two different things. I can find joy in the Lord by living for Him, by being grateful, by helping others, serving others, not as a cop out shaking hands and kissing babies, but as doing this type of stuff for sharing my story, for connecting, helping people, whatever it might be. Being a better dad, that's the big thing. But so I really struggled with my business. I'm a personal trainer. I opened a personal training studio. I was part of a CrossFit gym. I used CrossFit to basically start the personal training studio. And I got busy super fast, dude. And it threw me off. I was like, whoa, man, this is weird. Like, this is why am I getting all this? Because I'd been drifting back and forth between jobs, trying to find my identity. I finally thought, okay, God wants me to be a personal trainer. Like, this is what He wants me to do, even though I wasn't like following Him very well. But it was like my own little voice in my head. And it's probably Satan saying, hey, man, you're a failure, dude. You never became a SEAL. You're a fucking joke. Like, look at you. Look at you trying to be this trainer and do this. You're a fucking loser, man. You're divorced. You don't see your daughter every day. And I would just be like, oh man, he's right. I'm a chump. And I started the gym in 2014. All the cool guy stories were really happening around 2010. You know, when was the Bin Laden raid? 2012. Bin Laden raid was 2012. All these movies are coming out. All these books are coming out. And I'm just like, damn, I could be in the Navy right now. I could be doing this stuff. But I'm in Franklin, Tennessee, teaching Susie how to do a bicep curl. What the fuck? Like, what's wrong with me? And that's how I live, dude. Like, and that is when
So
I
it's,
should have went to therapy, you know?
yeah, so it's fair to say depression has taken over.
I've always had depression, man. I've always struggled with it.
So
Always.
how deep, how dark does that go for you? The depression, depression road.
Uh, it's not where it used to be because I finally woke up and became a man and said, okay, I got to work on mental health. But I always
How
had,
dark did it get?
oh, I got super dark, man. The darkest it ever got was with my second wife. We were dating. I won't go into the full details of what happened, but we had a very big blowout, like a big fight. I was heavily intoxicated, and it it got out of control. I grabbed my pistol. It's a Springfield Armory 40 caliber, and I put the gun to my head.
Good, bro. Take some time. This is heavy.
So I'm on my knees, and I put the gun to my head, and I don't know why I did this. I always thought growing up that you had to ask for forgiveness before you died, or you'd go to hell. So I called out to God, and I asked him to forgive me of my sins. And I remember feeling that slap come off the trigger. And a Glock and a Springfield Armory are two different guns. Well, as a cop, I carried a Glock, and the tension on the trigger is a little different. I mean, I felt it. I didn't pull it all the way. I chickened out, but I mean, I pulled the slack. I had my finger on it, and it freaked her the fuck out. How the cops didn't show up, I have no idea. But I ended up putting the gun down. I go to the living room. I was living in a duplex at the time because I was, divorced and trying to pick my life back together and stuff. And I go in the living room, and I'm processing everything. I'm drunk as hell. And it was just the moment that I didn't want to live anymore. I think I realized getting a divorce and leaving. I mean, I had joint custody, but I still felt like I'd let my daughter down. She was really young, man. She was super young when we got divorced. She was a year and a half. And I couldn't, the shame was just it was so heavy, dude. And the alcohol, you know how it is. When you're drunk, it takes away, you're just not in your right frame of mind. Your adversary roams, was it be sober and vigilant, because your enemy roams like a roaring lion ready to devour its prey. And I was just, I think just the totality of circumstances had finally hit me. Like, I'm a fucking loser, and I don't want to be here anymore. And that was probably the closest I ever came to killing myself. There's been some other times, but that was the first time I ever really pulled the slack out of the trigger. And that was a long time ago, man. I wasn't married to my second wife yet. I think it was like 2012, maybe 2011. I can't remember. But yeah, man, it was fucking heavy, dude. Um, but it didn't wake me up, man. It didn't like I didn't get my shit straight after that. Oh,
That's heavy stuff, brother. And I don't take that lightly because I myself have been in that situation, and so has many of your other guests.
yeah.
You reach that point. At what point? Let's just get to it. Like, at what point? What is the turning point for Steve?
So the
When
turning
does
point.
things turn?
So I kind of we stayed together, we dated, moved in together, got married. Uh, this incident I just recalled was in like 2011, 2012. So in October of 2021, I was drinking heavily. I had my little boy at this point. He was born in 2019, and drinking heavily. Um, she's been gone all day with my son. Comes home, and I'm pissed drunk. She's livid. Um, my second wife, because I made a deal with her, right? Like, and so for everybody listening, I quit drinking in 2016. And let me say this before I get in this big story. You got to want to stop for yourself, nobody else,
Absolutely.
because I stopped for her, but I did it to prove her wrong, because she'd call me an alcoholic, and I'm not beating her up. I'm not mad at her. I'm not making myself a victim here, but I saw it as a challenge, right? Okay, I can stop. I can quit drinking. I was sober for a year and a half. A year and a half, I did not touch alcohol. I did not hide it. I did not go try to get it, but I turned all of that energy into training, working out, dieting, like other things or whatever. Oh, I ended up drinking again. I eased my way back into it. So I'm gonna go back into 2021. I'd made a deal with her, no hard liquor, just beer, right? When you drink 20 beers, you're gonna be drunk as shit. So I would still drink 20 beers. I had been drinking hard liquor this day because I would gone over to my neighbor's house. So anyway, she comes home, she's livid, I'm pissed drunk, I'm outside, I've got a cigar. She's mad as hell, yelling, and I'm just like, I'm gonna sit outside and smoke my cigar. So I go to sit in a chair, and I've shared this before. This plastic Adirondack chair. I go to sit in it. When I go to sit in it, something happens, and all of a sudden I see my feet up in the air. Well, I crashed. I crashed through this chair. It slid on me. Right now, I was weighing probably like I don't know 215 at the time. So I go through the chair. I get up. I do a once over. Still got my cigar. It's still good. I don't think I spilled my beer, but but I noticed I'm like, oh man, I'm bleeding. Like, oh shit, I'm bleeding. So I go to the garage and I'm looking for something to wipe the blood. Well, I look down on my shirt and it's a good amount of blood. And I start to sober up. And I'm like, oh shit, dude. I don't know what's good. The chair's broken, all these pieces. I don't know what's going on. So I tried to call her and she's not answering the phone. I'm start yelling like, hey, I need some help. And I'm on my knees and I stayed out of the garage. I didn't want to get the garage floor yet, nasty. So I'm in the driveway. And she comes out, she thinks I'm throwing up. So she starts yelling at me some more. And I'm like, no, I'm really hurt. Like something's not right here. And she was like, oh, you stupid fuck. We got to go to the ER. I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't want to go to the ER. What had happened is this chair punctured. I don't know if you see it on camera. I've got like a weird spot on my mustache. Piece of plastic punctured through my face. So it opened up like right under my nose. It opened up his hole and there's just blood going everywhere. My forehead's all scraped up because we've got like a blacktop type driveway. I've got road rash all over me. So I'm a bloody mess. And we ended up going to the walk-in clinic that's like a ER type thing. And I had to get stitches. And of course, all the nurses are laughing like, dang, because I'm drunk as hell. And I'll never forget them putting that needle in my face. You think you could feel it when you're drunk because they numbed it, but I felt all of it. So I get stitches. And we're in marriage counseling at this point already. We go to counseling, I think that week. Now, let me back up. This is the most important part of the whole story. Let me back up. Hang on, I forgot this part. So this is on a Saturday night. We'd been back in church. In August, we started attending a church, old school Church of Christ. I picked it. A guy I worked with at the police department was leading singing that day, named Eric. Eric and I went to the academy together. We got hired together. Eric is a solid dude, man. He's a good Christian. He's leading singing that first day we go to church. And I saw it. I was like, damn, there's Eric. Like, that's cool, man. So I thought, I want to go to church here. This is important because I went to church from August until October 15th. Every Sunday I was hungover. Every single Sunday. I wasn't paying attention. I was halfway listening, but I was there to keep the family happy, right? I wasn't being a leader. I wasn't being a man of God. I was being a people pleaser. I was showing my kids and my wife at the time, ex-wife, that, all right, we'll go to church. That's cool. We did it.
Just putting up a front.
Exactly. I was an imposter. So why this is important, because the Sunday morning I woke up with my face all stitched up, all hung over. I didn't go to church that day because I was a mess. My son's mom and him went to church, and Jacob was really young at this time. He's 7 right now. I think he was probably 3. Yeah, I think he was 3 at the time, maybe 2.5. But anyways, so I watched church from home. Guess who does the closing prayer that morning at church? It's Eric. Why this still gets me upset, I don't know why. You weren't supposed to make me cry today, dude. So
that was my goal.
Yeah, it's working. So Eric's doing so in the Church of Christ, they do announcements, they do a closing prayer at the end of the service, and then they close out with a song. During that song, anyone that wants prayers goes up to the front, or anyone that wants to get baptized goes up to the front. So Eric's doing the announcements and he's doing a closing prayer, and in his prayer he says, Lord, please be with those that are sick, those that are sick in mind, body, and spirit. Well, that was me, right? I'm sick in my mind. I'm sick because I'm jacked up. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, man. Like, it made me really evaluate myself and evaluate what my life looked at. And folks listening, I'm gonna tell you this right now. My business was crushing it, dude. I was crushing it as a professional. I never drank at work. I never drank during the week. I drank on the weekends. I was killing it as a business owner. I don't say it to be prideful, but I was rocking and rolling. And on the outside, there's posts on Instagram that talk about this. I had it all. I was in shape. I was successful. I had a wife. I had 2 kids. We had a nice house. We had the car. We had everything. It was a great life on paper, but inside I was an internal wreck, man. So I reevaluated my life. We're already in marriage counseling. We had a therapy session scheduled, I think, for that Monday or Tuesday. We go to counseling. My face has got bandages all over it and shit. And the guy, Richard, he was an Episcopal priest, retired Episcopal priest. Now he's a therapist. And he looks at me and he goes, Steve, you're an alcoholic. And he said, you've got 2 options. You can choose your family or you can choose alcohol. And I said, Richard, I'm not an alcoholic, but I'm not going to choose alcohol over my family because that's stupid. So I'll quit drinking. And he goes, you need to be in AA. I have someone I can send you to. You need to get help. Like, if you really want to save your family. And my ex-wife basically told me that day, it's an ultimatum. You get sober or I'm gone. Right? I've already been divorced once. I've already dealt with that. Now I have a really young son. I didn't want to get divorced again. I didn't want to put my daughter through another divorce. That's 2, right? So I said, yeah, no problem. I'll get sober. So all you guys out there listening that feel like you don't have the courage to go get help, it's weird, it's uncomfortable. I tell you this right now. I had more courage running into a burning building trying to save a woman that was trapped in her bedroom than I did to walk into a fucking AA meeting. That was And the weird part about it, you're a Tool fan, so you'll laugh at this. I'm driving to this AA meeting. It's downtown Franklin, which is a historic square that always has a market on Saturdays. It's full of people. This is at a church. The song Sober by Tool comes on the radio. And I said, all right, God, I hear you. I got it. And I know Maynard's not religious. Tool is not a Christian band by any means, but it's like Sober's on the radio. I'm driving to my first AA meeting. I'm like, okay, Lord, I know. I'm going. I'm gonna get help. So I go to AA. That was wild. That was a weird experience. I get the blue book. Everybody goes around the circle, says I'm an alcoholic, all that kind of stuff. And I'm hearing these stories and I'm sitting here going, I've never waited for the liquor store to open. I've never hid alcohol at work. I've never had to drink to wake up. And I'm sitting here going, this doesn't feel like me. I don't understand this. But my ex-wife, it was a requirement, right? I had to be in some kind of treatment. So then I go to another AA meeting. And I want to say this so people won't take us the wrong way. And it's weird, like, talking this much because I'm not used to it because I'm the host usually. So if I talk too much, shut me down for a sec. But I'm not going to shit on AA because it's helped a lot of people, but it wasn't for me. And I go to my second AA meeting. It's a men's only meeting, right? I'm in this meeting. I won't say where it was because I don't want them to feel like they're not doing a good job. But I go in this meeting and it starts off. It's a lot of old guys, a lot of smoking and joking. And this guy he starts crying. He goes, I'm the worst alcoholic any of y'all have ever met or ever seen. And everybody's like, no, 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 you're not. He goes, yeah. He goes, I'm drunk right now. And I just drove here. And this old high profile attorney in town, Franklin is a small town with a lot of wealthy, powerful people, says, you should not be here. You endangered your own life and you endangered all of us by coming here drunk. You are a fucking disgrace to this meeting. And I kind of I'm the new guy, right? This is my first meeting. And I'm kind of taken aback by this. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, I don't really want to be here anyways. This is a waste of my time. So I get up and I walk out and this guy follows me out and he goes, hey man, he goes, where are you going? And I said, let me tell you this, man. I said, I hope you guys get that man some help because he really needs some help. And I said, that's fucked up how y'all treated him. And I said, I want no part of this. And he said, well, it's not like that all the time. And I said, brother, that's cool, man, but this ain't for me, man. So I left and I never looked back. I read the big blue book because I was required to keep a marriage together. But every story in that big blue book is a testimony from someone in the 1940s. This is 2026, man. Different world. Didn't relate to it. So I went to Eric, who did the closing prayer, and I said, do y'all have a program for guys that are trying to get sober? Do you have like a men's group? This is a small church with 100 members, man. Church of Christ. Nobody talks about alcohol in Church of Christ, the real Church of Christ. And he goes, no, we don't. But he said, I bet we can start one. So they started a Wednesday night men's group. These guys didn't know me. They didn't know it was for me, but Eric encouraged the preacher to start this group. And we started a weekly men's group that involved reading a book and sharing scripture and reading, praying together. That's what got me started on the journey to sobriety. That's what helped me. The church did.
That answers a couple questions, right? So it's also bring God back into your life,
Mm-hmm.
starting to get sober. And how was that journey? Was it difficult? Did you have setbacks? Was it
Um,
not looking back?
the it was more so I didn't have a desire to drink, but what happened really fast is I noticed a lot of people kind of left my life. People that I thought were friends didn't come around anymore. When we go to restaurants, so I used to play this game in my head. I like things in pairs, right? So if we're gonna go to dinner, I would always order a beer and I would drink it as fast as I could to get another one in, so I could get two. Because I had like basically like a count where she would like be cool or she'd get mad. So I would try to get two down before I got home so I could drink more. And what I started to notice when I'd go out as a sober individual, I'd look around and go, man, that person drinks a lot, or that beer is huge. Cause it's weird being on the other side of it, you know? And there wasn't a temptation to drink because I was locked on, man. I was born again hard for it. I was like, all right, I'm gonna make a change. I'm gonna be a Christian. I wanted to become a deacon. I wanted to get involved in the church. Like I was all about it, man. And I've said this before. The version of Steve Morris when I was in high school is the guy I tried to kill when I got out of college. I didn't like him. I didn't like him at all. But he's the guy that I think God intended me to be because that's I'm more like the guy in high school now than I was in my 30s. So I was committed to it, man. But as far as support, I had it from a men's group. I started reading books. I started journaling. I started listening to podcasts. I listened to a lot of Jordan Peterson. Um, his podcast. I started reading books from Jordan Peterson. Jason Tyler McLean wrote One Drop of Water. I've shared that. I've had him on the show twice. His book really helped me. So I was committed to it, man. I was committed to being a good husband and a good father. I really wanted to embrace that role, and it was important to me.
So that's the path that led us to right now, Steve, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, there's a lot happening in your life, man. You've been through a lot of stuff,
It gets
brother.
worse.
It gets worse.
It gets worse. Yeah, it gets
Well,
worse.
well, fill us in.
Yeah. So basically for a year straight, I I was a good boy. I didn't drink. Was going to church every Sunday. Usually on that when the Wednesday night meetings, I was reading. I was did a morning routine. I did this thing, man. It was wild. And I actually forgot about this, but I need to share this. So my old house, we had a deck. We had, decent backyard. What I would do is I'd get up early because I'm a trainer. I got early clients. I'd get up, I'd go downstairs, no matter what the weather was like, I'd walk on my back deck and I'd just talk to God. And I would ask him to, lead me. I'd thank him for what he'd done for me. And I'd look at the stars and I'd talk to him. I just talked to him. And I'll never forget this. Um, Probably after being sober for, maybe a little bit over a year, was standing out on my back deck one morning and I saw a shooting star. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. I took it as a sign, like, okay, God, it's kind of a God nod thing, right? Then I saw another one. I was like, man, that's weird, like two in a row. But I felt like God, for the first time in my life, was there. He was with me, and I wasn't afraid of him. But while the story gets worse, I hit my first year of sobriety on October 15th of 2022. And the week before that, I went up in front of the church and I asked for prayers. And I told the congregation that I wanted to be a good husband. I wanted to be a good father and I wanted to live my life for Christ. So in a way, I gave my life back to Christ, without getting dunked again. I gave my life back to Christ. And my ex-wife and I had gotten into a disagreement shortly after that moment. She was out of town. She said she didn't feel like it was authentic what I was doing. I said I had some choice words for her, and she decided to move to the couch. And I didn't think it was a big deal. I thought it was just her being upset. So when I hit my first year of sobriety, I had this card from her, and it sounded like a card like a friend would write you. I'd been married almost 7 years at this point, and it was just kind of weird. I've not always been good at seeing things before they happen. So where I'm going with all this, she's been on the couch, and a week later, she's still on the couch, and I go to her and I'm like, "Hey, you don't have to sleep on a couch anymore. Like this, we can get past this." And she just kept saying, "No, I want to stay on the couch." And I looked at her and I said, "Well, why? Do you want a divorce or something?" And she said, "Yep, I do. I'm done. I'm not in love with you anymore." And Brady, I did not see that coming, man. I did not, because I thought I had followed all the rules. I had done everything I was supposed to do. But what's the wrong thing in all that, man? What's wrong with that picture? I wasn't doing it for myself, right? So she tells me she wants a divorce. Here my dear old friend Satan comes back around. We're in our bathroom. We had a jacuzzi bathtub. I'm trying to like basically plead to her, keep the thing going. I'm falling apart and she's crying. And I'm looking at this tub and I just keep looking at it. And I'm like, if I just go eat my Glock right now, I don't have to deal with this anymore. I don't have to be divorced again. I don't have to go through not seeing my son every day, who's 3 years old at this point. And it was this really strong pull, man, to just do it. So we have our talk. She leaves the room because she's sleeping on the couch at this point. I go close the door. I get down on my knees and I just start crying. And I say, "Oh my God, I can't do this. I cannot do this on my own." That that's when I fully surrendered. That's when I realized that Steve Morris does not control everything. That I cannot control other people, that I cannot control my family, that I cannot control what happens to me, that God is in control and that I need to fully surrender to him. And that was in October. We were officially divorced by March 31st of 2023. So it was a very fast divorce. There's a lot more to it. I won't get into details, but I will say this for all the men listening right now. When you watch another man move into your house, watch your TV, carry your young son in a public place, it will humble you. It will it will make you reevaluate your life decisions. And without God in my life, I would not be here today talking to you.
That is a crazy story, Steve. And what I think is awesome, not awesome about it, but you were under attack from all sides, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, you're being tried. You're trying to do the right thing, but you're probably not doing it for the right reasons, right? And then it all comes crumbling down. The thing you were trying to save or prevent happens. It, how vulnerable are you? I mean, that's about as vulnerable as you can get. And I think you're right. At that point, it required you to surrender
Yeah.
and and not be in control and ask for the help.
Hmm.
And from that point, do things get better for you, or is it still a challenge, man? How does the healing process and finding your testimony in God, is that challenging to you? Is it hard? Does it present issues?
Yeah.
Or is it, or like, I guess I'm asking, is it an overnight thing, or does it take some time, brother?
No, it's not an overnight thing. Being divorced in the beginning was harder than being married as far as like the relationship piece between her and I, and the co-parenting, not seeing my little boy on a regular basis. But I had to constantly keep God at the forefront. I had to constantly um read, journal, go to therapy. Like I knew I couldn't do it on my own. And today
You
as
got
I
to
sit
feed that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and today as I sit here and talk to you, um, it is easier just because I was able to get a better schedule with my son. But um mental health is an ongoing thing, and you don't just reach a certain point to where you're like, okay, now it's cool. I'm healthier, I'm better now, but it's still challenging because, in this whole process, I lost seeing my daughter every other week. I put my daughter through 2 divorces, and, she's now decided to live with her mom full time, the mom that I get along with really good, but I don't have the relationship with my daughter that I had when I was married to my second wife. So, I'm not a victim, though. I don't want you guys to feel sorry for me. I'm not a victim. But, it's a constant reminder for me to just keep one foot in front of the other and to be grateful for the things I do have and the time I have with my son and the time I get to see my daughter. Um, and that's why I wanna encourage other men listening and women too, because I know women watch the show, that, life will change in an instant, and you just gotta stay grateful and, appreciate what you have, and if you don't have Christ in your life, you're not gonna find peace. And I'm not here to preach at you, I'm not here to try to convert you to Christianity, but I truly believe you will never find peace unless you have the Lord in your life, because if I would have tried to white knuckle this thing on my own, I probably wouldn't be sober. I know I wouldn't see my son like I do. I wouldn't be as good a father, and I wouldn't be living my life with purpose, man.
You wouldn't be the role model you are today, man, for your son.
No,
You know what I mean?
yeah, not at all.
And that's something that I've realized through my life too is, am I the person I would want raising my kids?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's accountability, man. You think accountability played a huge role in that? Once you surrendered, did you think you assumed accountability for your actions and think that that was part of the healing process?
Yeah, I think so, and I think the big piece was being humble and, not full of not being prideful, 'cause, I carried a lot of pride for so many years. I never thought she'd leave me, dude. I never thought she'd leave me, 'cause I was the fucking man, like, why would she leave me? Seriously, that's how I saw it. I'm like, I'm successful. I've got I'm in shape. And this is all me thinking it back then,
Yeah,
not now. But like, I thought, there's no way she's gonna leave me, dude. I'm like, I'm Steve,
I'm the
you know?
catch, man.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
got
Like,
Steve?
that's
What?
right. Yeah, because
Nice.
I,
No.
but I was fed those things, and I don't know. It's funny. No, I was wrong, dude. She was out. She gone. She gone. Ain't no sandwiches when she's gone. You know? She gone.
Well, think about that, man. All that stuff you've been through, you start on the path to healing, you find God, find your testimony, your true testimony, right? You're living for God now, you're living for yourself. You're doing these things to improve your life. Um, you're sober. You've lost some things, but what have you gained versus what have you lost?
So that's a good question. I've gained a real relationship with Jesus, and I'm not the best Christian. I don't know the Bible in and out, but I do know that He died for me. He died for you. I know that I'm worthy of salvation. I don't have to fear God. I have to obey Him, but I don't have to fear Him. And I don't have to be afraid of Satan, because Satan has no power over me, because I am washed in the blood of the Lamb, Jesus Christ. Satan cannot touch me. He can come at me, he can attack me, but he cannot hurt me. But the The one thing I want you men out there to listen to, all of this stuff has made me a better dad because I would not have the relationship that I have with my little boy who's 7 now, and he gets mad when I call him a little boy, but I still see him as this little boy. We would not have the relationship that we have because being divorced taught me I have to step up and do things that maybe a dad wouldn't do in a healthy family unit. So plan a vacation. Like the first year of my divorce, my son and I, he was 5 years old. I went to Florida with him and went to the beach for a week. I was terrified of doing that, dude. I never would have done that as a married man by myself, but I thought I need to spend some time with him so he can get to know me better, that he can know that I'm going to take care of him. I can cook for him. I can do things for him. So it's made me a better dad. I'm trying to be a father in a way that is loving. I can be masculine, but I can also be nurturing with him. And I don't want him to fear me. I don't want my son to be afraid of me. You know, we used to joke as kids, me and you, like our generation. We should always be afraid of your dads and he's gonna whoop your ass and all that kind of stuff. I don't want Jacob to be I want him to respect me, but I don't want him to be afraid of me. I want him to know that I will do whatever he needs and protect him, but I also love him. And I tell him this, I tell him this too. I'm like, dude, I will love you no matter what happens in your life, no matter what mistakes you make, I will always love you. And you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be the best, And I try to do that with my daughter too. And it's different, a dynamic at 16 and her living with her mom. But I know she watches some of this, so I want her to know that I want to be the same for her too. And Jay, I love you to death. And I'm a better man now than I was before when I was drinking for sure.
Brother, that's the point, right?
Yeah.
we grow. We grow through life, man. We're never born with what we have now. Life's a journey. You got to learn, you got to grow. If you're not growing, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Okay? We're going to fail. And
Right.
you've been through some failures, brother, but I think this podcast by itself proves to peace, power, purpose. We kind of covered a lot of that right now through our discussions. Your
Hmm.
purpose, how you receive peace, power of God, and even Satan. We've talked about a lot of that stuff, but the point here is, Steve, if you've overcome a ton, you need to not be so hard on yourself, bro. You're doing a good job. You just got to keep it going.
Yeah.
And and what you need to realize too is that you're not alone. A lot of us have walked that road, and there's strength in numbers too. You can always reach out and and talk to somebody. You've got through this podcast. Think about how many lifelines you have now,
Hmm.
man. People you've talked to and stories you've heard, and stories of success, failure, overcoming trials.
Yeah.
You know, if you could, for all the men and women out there struggling, might be going through addiction, through depression, the stuff that we've talked about today, what's your advice for them?
Know that people love you and that your life has value. And before I finish that, Brady, I want to give you a shout out because I remember we talked around Christmas time and you told me, you said, call me if you need to, because you knew I was going to wake up by myself on Christmas Day. Like, and I really appreciate that, man. That's really, really big of you and it shows your character. And, I really consider you a close friend and that means a lot to me. And I really appreciate that, man.
Thank you, man. I've learned a ton about you today, more than I knew. And I think you're a good guy, Steve, and you're doing good things. You just need to keep marching forward, keep doing it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And to answer that question for you, if you're out there and you're listening, y- don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone and listen to a podcast or read a book or just write your thoughts out or ask for recommendations for a therapist. Therapy does not make you weak. It's not there's nothing wrong with you. It helps you process. And the reason I get emotional talking about these stages of my life, it's just it's almost like you relive it, but you need to be aware of it because you don't want to internalize everything. Because unfortunately, when you internalize trauma or pain or depression, it can lead to self-sabotage, it can lead to unhealthy behaviors. And the one thing this whole journey has taught me is I know the version that I am now, and I don't want to go back to the version that I was before. And if I give in to the victim mindset, or if I let the enemy stay in my ear too long, I don't want to slip. And it's okay to make mistakes, guys. If you're listening, like, don't beat yourself up if you make a mistake, but I don't want to slip back into the man that I was before, because my kids deserve better than that. They deserve a dad that's going to be there for them. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and I think and with that, it's important that the important part of that is you recognize that, okay? You recognize where you're heading and your goals in life and what you want to be, okay? And you don't want to be this person. And if you make a mistake, it's important that you recognize, hey, that was a slip. That wasn't permanent. Okay, I'm going to be better today than I was yesterday. I'm back on track. You don't stay in the rut. Okay, you climb back out. You need help to do that. And like Steve says, you reach out, you call a buddy, you say, hey, I'm struggling, man. I'm busted up today. Help me out. And if they're a good friend, they're going to be there for you. Okay, they will. And like during Christmas, I was serious about that, man. Call me. I mean, I have no problem talking with you at Christmas, man. Sure, brother. Call
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
We'll talk about some stuff. Steve, it's been insightful. I don't have a lot more to cover. You got anything else you want to throw in there?
Yeah, I just think that my goal with this whole show is to the guy that's talking to you today is the guy I am all the time. And I am not on a platform to be fake or to blow smoke up your ass. This is raw. This is authentic. I'm not better than you. I'm a sinner. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I truly believe God has called me to help people. And I think the way I can do that is to have amazing guests on like you, Brady, and meet people, share testimonies, and just try to give back and help people not only see their value, but know that you don't have to don't quit. Don't just roll over because of a mistake you made or something that happened to you that was traumatic. You can overcome adversity, and you can help someone else. You can pay it forward, or however you say it. And that's what I want people to take away from it.
100%, man. Service to your fellow man, helping people out, and be a fighter. Don't quit, man. Things get tough. Fight back. Okay, push back.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say. Don't don't let Satan rule you.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not worth it. All right, brother. That's all I have for you, Steve. I mean, I hope I did a good enough job. I know I'm not great at this,
No, you
so I
did
hope
good,
everybody
man.
bear with
You,
me.
you
So
did good. You're a good interviewer, man. You did really good. You wanna pray us out, or you want me to do it?
yeah, I'll pray us out this time,
Awesome.
bro. Father in heaven, we thank thee for the opportunity we had to do this podcast today, and we thank thee for Steve and his willingness to open up to his viewership, and we ask that his story will help someone that is in need, and his story can be a light to those who are in dark places. We thank thee for all your blessings in our life, and we ask thee to watch over us and to protect our families and to keep our heads up and guide us in good, positive directions. Please help us to touch and affect other people's lives in healthy, righteous ways. And if it be your will, help us to be the person someone needs at any time they should call. We are super grateful for this opportunity to discuss these things today, and we thank you for the spirit that's been with us today. And we say these things in Jesus Christ, amen. We thank everybody for watching today. I hope you enjoyed our interview with Steve. And thank you, Steve, for allowing me to do this. Real quick, again, I'm Brady Blackner. I'm the founder of Battle Force Foundation here in Utah. And that's what we do. We're out here to help military veterans, first responders fighting depression, suicidal thoughts, and addiction. And we're trying to help guys that went through what me and Steve went through, and guys and women. Okay. But I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and kind of explain myself. And honestly, the FaceTime, I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you in an intimate way, Steve, and learn more about you. Um, Thank you for turning into Peace, Power, and Purpose. Make sure you subscribe and follow Steve and Peace, Power, and Purpose. Okay. If you're not following or subscribed, you need to be. Okay. And that's all I have, man.
You did a good job, man. Thank you for doing this. I think that was
You
great.
bet, brother.
Awesome, man. You guys
Thank
go
you.
follow Brady too. Go check out his organization.
I
He's crushing
appreciate it.
Battle Forge Foundation. He's crushing it. They're doing
We're
some
doing
great
some
work.
big things. We're new, but we're getting bigger. Okay, we're
And
growing fast.
And I'm gonna go ahead and let the audience know off camera. Brady says he's gonna pay me $50,000 to fly to Utah and speak.
$50,000.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's right. That's right.
It
All
might
right,
be
brother.
Monopoly money.
That's
but
right.
You're gonna
There
get
we
it.
go. There we go.
I'm good for it.
Appreciate you, man.
All right. You too, Steve.
All right, man.
All right. Take